FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
What is changing now with the new administration with respect to nuclear weapons? There may be a new policy developed under the Obama administration to try and reduce the importance of nuclear weapons. Now, I come from the Livermore lab, and we're basically nukes are us, but we have a balanced view of it as well. It's not just that we have been responsible for developing nuclear weapons. We are supportive of U.S. policy developed by the president. So that new policy may have certain elements. One element may be to reduce our nuclear stockpile down to 1,000 weapons. A second element would be to acknowledge that nuclear weapons are only valuable to deter other states from using nuclear weapons. It's a very narrow definition, and that's part of the rhetoric that has come out of the Obama administration and some of the policy papers. There's a recent article in Foreign Affairs, the prominent foreign policy journal, that sketches out some of these new policies or ideas. Another element of this approach would be to ensure verification and monitoring of weapons around the world. And then a last aspect would be to lay out a goal of getting the world to eliminate all nuclear weapons. Well, that's an interesting and a persuasive argument for a lot of Americans, but from Pakistan's point of view, it may be harder for them to accept. The idea that nuclear weapons are only good for deterring nuclear weapons doesn't really apply to Pakistan. From Pakistan's point of view, they need nuclear weapons and develop nuclear weapons, not so much to deter India's nuclear weapons, but to deter India from mounting a conventional war against Pakistan that Pakistan fears it would lose. That's why they want nuclear weapons, and so they would not necessarily accept this idea that nuclear weapons can only be used to deter other nuclear weapons. Whether the U.S. reduces its stockpile has no bearing on Pakistan's need for nuclear weapons vis-a-vis India. If we have 1,000 or 10,000 weapons, it doesn't affect whether or not they need what they see as several dozen for their own security reasons. The idea of going to nuclear zero also would not necessarily resonate with Pakistan because from Pakistan's point of view, nuclear weapons are not ethically bad or morally bad. They're also not dangerous to themselves, and they are necessary for Pakistan to ensure that India cannot take advantage of Pakistan's weakness. So the new policies that are being developed, and we'll see more of it as the Obama administration starts to take shape, as key people are placed into different positions throughout the administration, we'll see what the sinews of this new policy look like. But we need to think of it not just in terms of how the U.S. might benefit from changes in our nuclear policy, whether it be for moral reasons or distaste with nuclear weapons, or the idea that nuclear weapons don't serve our strategic interests or security purposes very well anymore, given that the Cold War is over. Those reasons may apply to us, but they won't necessarily apply to other states. And in this case, it's part of why Pakistan will continue to be an outlier and an interesting policy challenge.